Hello everyone. So welcome to the new month in our monthly current affairs series and we are starting with the October month. Now we'll start with the first session that is indexes and reports. So starting with the first one that is international ones. The first one is Poverty and Shared Prosperity Report. It is one of the flagship reports of the World Bank Group, right? So till now we have done August month, September month and now this is October month, right? So slowly and slowly, you will also need to make some notes, or we will provide compilations, the reports of the World Bank, right? Now, reports of the World Bank are not only important from prelims that okay, this report has been published by the World Bank, but also if you want to write some insights with respect to the global poverty or overall insights into the poverty impact of the COVID-19 and some of the insights of these reports can be taken up. If you want, you can obviously read the report, but obviously that's not recommended. Some of the insights I will share, or some of the insights which you read from the newspaper, let's say, you can quote under this report. Okay, let's talk at it. So it's a biennial report, that is once in 2 years it is being published, which provides the latest and the most accurate estimates on the trends of the global poverty. One of the major finding of the report was that the whole world was the global poverty was declining at a declining stage, right? Poverty rate has been falling, though we would have not achieved the SDG goal of zero poverty, that is SDG goal number 1, but still we would have been doing really well if this COVID pandemic has not been stuck. Now because of that, this is being the problem. Poverty rate has gone up, right? So certainly it would be a decade of very extreme actions will be required to achieve the SDG goals again. Some of the insights which are coming, that the new poors which will come up, the new poors will be from the urban areas. They will belong to the sectors such as informal sectors, manufacturing sector, low income households. And one more report we will see, rooted in the South Asian context, they'll talk about how informal sector will face a lot of burn out of this COVID-19 pandemic. Apart from this COVID-19 pandemic, they call about so COVID plus climate risks plus conflicts. So they've given these three things, that because of these three things, the reversals in the poverty can be seen. Not only the COVID, yes, a big factor, but also climate risk and the conflict. So these are the three factors which they have given, and also they have given the framework ki bhai kya kya karna chahiye, what are the things we need to do. So below the poverty line, around expected to account for 63% of the new poor which will come up in the South Asia, India, China, and other countries, Bangladesh, and all these countries. So new poors, as they say, you can quote this fact, according to World Bank, around 15 million, 150 million or 15 crore people will be pushed into extreme poverty by 2021. And that's the impact of the COVID-19 overall. With respect to COVID-19, at least for next year, for means 2021, you need to remember 2 to 3 facts. How much global economy has shrunk according to one fact, IMF or Economic Survey or World Bank, one fact. Secondly, how much impact is on the poverty. So some of the facts which you need to remember, है ना? 2 से 3 fact, that's all. So the new poors, 20% of the new poors will live in fragile, conflict affected countries compared to the existing poor. Many of the new poors likely to live in congested urban settings, to work in the most sectors most affected by lockdowns, mobility restrictions, engaged in informal sector, likely to be paid employees and worked in the non-agricultural sector, manufacturing, service, commerce sector, tend to be more educated than the existing poor, but significantly less educated than the non-poors. ठीक है. Next is Global World Economic Outlook 2020. World Economic Outlook, we have read last time also. World Economic Outlook, one of the flagship reports of the International Monetary Funds. So they will come up with their own data with respect to which economy is falling, which economy is recovering. You don't have to recall a lot of data that according to IMF will shrink by 10%, according to Economic Survey will shrink by 7.7%, according to World Bank will shrink by something else. Just one data you need to remember, and that data is the economic survey data or the data by the government. That will be more than sufficient with respect to ourselves. So, the report titled Long and Difficult Ascent was recently published by the IMF. They say that the world economy will witness over the shrink of 10% of the GDP. Okay. So, a contraction of, India's contraction will be seen more than 10%, and the world contraction will be around 4%. Tick. So, this is that. Next, and last time we have discussed one of the two reports, important reports of the World Economic Forum, Global Financial Stability Report and the World Economic Outlook. Tick, published twice in a year, April and the October. This is this. So we've discussed last time when we were discussing these questions. Next report is Global Hunger Index. Very important index from exam perspective, pre perspective, very less because the numbers are not very good. But from mains perspective, you can add this as an example where we talk about the hunger, nutrition, and these kind of things. So India has been ranked 94 among the countries. Last year, India's rank was 102. 102 rank was there. This for 94, not a good rank. So it is not released by any prominent organizations such as FAO, United Nations, like that. It is released by two international organizations such as Concern Worldwide and Welt Hunger. One is an Irish aid agency and one is a German organization. Okay. Indicators of which are important. Last year our rank was 102. This year 94. Okay. Now some of the indicators are important. For example, undernourishment, child wasting, stunting, and mortality, not morality. And you need to remember the definition of these two. What is the difference between wasting and stunting? Wasting is basically children having low weight for their height. So high weight and high height and but less weight. This is wasting. So height is good, height is high, weight is less. And shunted means age is, with respect to age, they don't have the proper height. That is shunted. Okay. So this is the India's journey. Chaliye. Next is the women trade, the role of trade in promoting women's equality. Now this report, as you can see, trade is there, right? So trade, because of trade, the WTO is involved. And overall, this is the World Bank Group is involved here. So basically, if you remember, if you recall, one of the things that were discussed in that WTO platform was the role of the women, that role of the women needs to be seen, or role of the women needs to be seen in the trade, and WTO was the platform, and India was against it. India said that WTO is a trade centric platform. There is no need to discuss women centric issues here. Otherwise, we will be derailed from the real progress that we want to make on the Doha development round. Right? So, in that context, this report has come, WTO and World Bank Group. They want to see how much impact the trade is having on the women. Yes, there is positive side to it. For example, they talk about how this trade is very important for women. It gives them mobility, it gives them wider opportunity, especially with respect to the digital age. Sorry, with respect to the digital age, it gives them a lot of mobility to work around things, right? They can exploit their potential. Safety risks are less, but we also need to focus on their developing of their capabilities, having such policies, having reforms, so as to discrimination against the women can be reduced. Okay. So all this data is not relevant for prelims, obviously, but for mains you can expect one question that is related to trade and the women, and that question can be there in your GS1 or GS3, that what are the opportunities the trade brings for the women, and what are the challenges which is there to exploit, to basically harness this potential the women have with respect to the trade. Okay, chalo. So this report you can quote in that direction. Next is beaten or broken. So basically you can see it as an extension of the first report that we have seen, shared prosperity, report of the World Bank. So basically they talk about the South Asia, how in the South Asia, because of the informality, because the children out of being school, how much impact is being caused, right? India's future earning to be impacted due to the school closures, you can see, right? And then they talk about importantly the informal sector, the impact on the informal sector by the COVID-19. Again, you can expect one question in your GS3 mains with respect to impact on the informal sector, and how this impact can be how this COVID-19 can be an opportunity for India for the pushing for the formalization of the informal sector. For example, giving Atmanirbhar Bharat package. So as to get that package, so as to get that benefit, the firms need to get to the formal sector. So this can be one of the questions you can expect. South Asia is set to plunge into the worst ever recession in 2020 as the devastating impact of COVID-19 on the region's economy linger. That's all. Next, very important report, that is Oxfam's. Oxfam is a famous organization that publishes the report for the inequality. For example, a lot of time we quote the data of the Oxfam with respect to the inequality, right? Now, with respect to inequality, now this time Oxfam has come up with a report of carbon inequality. What they want to say, they want to say that the richest people, obviously there is a huge global wealth inequality, income inequality, but they also want to say that there also exists carbon inequality, huge carbon inequality. The richest 1% emit twice as much as the poorest 50%. You can see richest 1% emit twice as much carbon as the bottom 50%. So it is not only the inequality is there in their wealth, but it is also effective in their carbon footprints, right? So it's being published by Oxfam International and Stockholm Environmental Institute. It highlights that the rich person contributes more to the climate crisis than a poor person, and obviously the impact is borne more by the poor person than the rich person, because the poor person has the less qualitative infrastructure to himself, less safety nets to face those climate risks which are coming. For example, if the flood comes in, who will be impacted the most? The poor will be impacted the most, not the rich ones. And Indian emitted only 1.97 tons of carbon, while the Americans and Canadians have emitted 16 um, tons of the CO2 annually, right? So this again is a very important, all these reports, not only important for prelims, but also very important to give you insights when you write a GS answer or your essays. Next is the State of Global Air 2020. So it's published by a US based Health Effect Institute, which is a non-profit research organization under the Environmental Protection Agency of USA. Okay. So they say that it is one of the fourth largest risk factor, right? In with respect to the death of the people, cause of death. Now, highest is the blood pressure. They say highest is BP, high BP, then tobacco use, then poor diet, and then air pollution. And they say that India, after China, India is leading one of the highest deaths, which is attributed to the air pollution. If they weight to the population, then India is here, exposure to the PM 2.5. So air pollution, we all know that how much problem of the air pollution is getting. Air apocalypse, these words are being used. So air problem is the big problem which as a nation we are facing, you know. For example, last time we have read one initiative, that is Pusa decomposer, if you recall, in our ecology of September month. So solutions to the stubble burning and all these things that we need to see. One of the major problems that we also have, because air pollution is not a electoral issue. Again, whenever something becomes an electoral issue, then the countries, the politicians or the political party also become very aware about it. For example, healthcare has now become one of the core areas of discussion. For example, economic survey this year talks about health has finally come to the center stage. And when and only when this will become the point of politics, then only the reforms will come. Otherwise, it's all rhetorics and talks. Then next is again a very important report for mains, again for mains, a lot of reports for mains with respect to disaster management. A very good report has been published by United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, which talks about the cost of the disaster. So they talk about the cost of the disaster in the last 20 years and they compare it with the previous 20 years. For example, 1890 to 99 and 2000 to 2019. Now, one would believe that because we have done so much technological progress and all these things, we are able to reduce the risks, we are able to reduce the human cost, we are able to reduce the cost, livelihood cost, for example. But that's not true. For example, if you see over the period of 20 years, reported disasters have increased, total deaths have increased, total affected people have increased, and total economic loss has also been increased. So, in spite of such technological development, we are still facing or we are still having larger impact of the disasters. One of the major causes that has been attributed to it because of the climate change is largely to blame for the nearing of the near doubling of the natural disasters. It did not talk about the biological disasters or the disasters like COVID-19 pandemic. So, if you include that, that too much. Similarly, if you see some of the events, for example, flood, you can see almost doubled, more than doubled. Drought increased, your storms have increased. And all these are the symbols of your climate change. One of the boxes talks about hazard versus the disasters. So you can read about it. For example, what is the difference between hazard and a disaster? Hazard is nothing but an extreme event, right? For example, they're bound to come flood, heat wave, and all these things. They become disaster when they start causing the human and livelihood issue. For example, the same level of the, let's say, cold wave comes in the Antarctic or in the Arctic, doesn't matter to us. But if it comes in, let's say, in India, then it will cause a lot of loss of lives and livelihood. Then it will become a disaster. So definitions are given, you can use such definitions. For example, number of disaster reported per country per territory, India 321. So again, a fact to be noted. Next is Words Women 2020 Trends and Statistics Report. So this report is published every 5 years, and they want to trace what are the impact have been done after the 1995 Beijing Declaration. 25 years after the Beijing Declaration, what are the impacts have been seen. So every 5 years, this report is being published under the 6 categories not important for prelims. This is published by United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. They talk about 6 domains such as population, family, health, education, economic empowerment, power and decision making, and violence against the women. Not important for us, neither for prelims nor for mains. For mains also some data is there, but such data are not important for us. Why? Because we already have such data, India specific data with respect to our NSSO survey and other surveys, economic survey, not relevant. So ignore such data. The last international report that we're going to read is World Energy Outlook Report. So this report is published by the International Energy Agency. So this report talks about, gives a comprehensive view of the global energy system and could develop in the coming decades. This factors in the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. So it talks about India will lead the demand of the energy globally over the next 10 years. Global energy demand is set to drop by 5% in 2020. Energy related CO2 emissions will be dropping 7%. Energy investment by 18%. They say that the coal demand, which has been decreased, important line to remember, which has been decreased by the COVID-19, will never ever recover. The amount of the coal related energy that we are making, we will never ever make such energy with coal again. They're talking about the 2040 projection. So for example, they talk about a lot of scenarios. We don't have to go too much into details. They talk about a lot of scenarios. For example, one scenario is that we just recover and we go to the pre COVID-19 path. No changes, pre COVID-19 path, and we what scenario is that? Second scenario is delayed recovery scenario. One scenario is that is relevant to us, that is net zero by 2050. This is one of the scenario. They call it a sustainability scenario. that if we want to make sure that we get to this target, net zero emissions by 2050, so these are the things that needs to be done by the companies, by the citizens, by the finance, and more importantly the government. For example, electrical car, energy appliances, retrofitting of the rooms, and so many things not important for us. So the conclusions, let us read it out. So pandemic will leave a lasting scars, but it is open whether this represents a setback for a more secure, a sustainable energy system, or a catalyst that accelerate the pace of change. Means COVID-19 again. Here we can reevaluate our choices, that we want to go to a path of sustainability, or we want to retrace our old path the way we were going. For example, they talk about that solar has emerged as a king in this scenario. The investments in the solars have increased. Those people, those companies, those who are relying too much oil and the gases, they have faced the um, closure of their plants. They have seen the lack of demand and loss of revenues. So they also need to change. They also need to adapt with respect to the times. The renewables have taken off, solar energy leading the way, but a slowdown in improving access to electricity and the risk of underinvestment in the grid are the signs of the future. They say that we need to focus on the grids. Investments on the grids is very, very important if we need to focus on sustainably meeting energy needs to the last person. Right? And they say that there is no shortcuts. We need to focus on profound changes by guided by good policies and all these things. Last time we discussed the headquarter of the International Energy Agency is in Paris, France. Something in its origin lies in the Arab Israel Palestine crisis. So after the Yom Kippur War, oil crisis had stepped in 1973. ठीक? So that oil crisis has led to 300% rise in the oil crisis, and this oil crisis has led to the formation of International Energy Agency. So this was the embargo by the OPEC countries for perceived against the countries which was perceived as supporting the Israel in the Yom Kippur war. So again, just to reiterate, in the wake of 1973 oil crisis, after the OPEC cartel has shocked the world with a steep increase in the oil prices, they published this report, that is World Energy Outlook report. India is an associate member. India is not the member of the International Energy Agency. So remember, India is only an associate member. Tick. Chalo. So that's it for the international reports. Let's come to India. With respect to India, the first one is important, that is Data Governance Quality Index. So Data Governance Quality Index is basically ranking of the states. They rank states, different states. They have divided the states. They have made the index based upon different factors such as data generation, data quality, data technology, data analysis, other security, and all these things. And they rank the different ministries and the departments, okay, with respect to how well they are able to um, work with the data and improve the implementation of the central sector and the centrally sponsored schemes. That's all. How well they are able to adopt the data led or data driven governance. Now this index is being created by Development Monitoring and the Evaluation Office, which is an attached office of the Niti Aayog. So it works along with the Niti Aayog, that is DMEO. From the name itself, Development Monitoring and Evaluation Office. So it's being merged. They have been merged to two offices, that is Program Evaluation Office and Independent Evaluation Office. It's an attached office on Niti Aayog, aim and fulfilling the organization's monitoring and the evaluation mandate. So they've tried to bring this effectiveness, efficiency, equity, and sustainability, all these things. More responsibilities have been put on this organization, that is coming up with the output outcome framework. So difference between outlay, output, and outcome. Outlay is basically that for hospital we have given 500 crore. Output, that one building has been created, 3 ICUs have been created, and outcome is more than 50 people's life has been saved. These are the difference between outlay, output, and outcome. So government has designated DMEO Niti Aayog as responsibility to conduct independent third party evaluation of all CSS in town bound manner. so that the finding of the evaluation can be made available to the appropriate authorities for determining the rationalization of these schemes. Okay. So this question you can expect, that is development monitoring and evaluation office, under which, for example, they can ask this under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, like that. No, it's under the Niti Aayog. Next is Public Affair Index. Not important because not published by the government. So published by the Public Affairs Center in Bangalore. It's a unique statistical to evaluate the performance of the governance of the states. So they basically compare each and every state with respect to the governance based upon the three parameters, that is growth, equity, and sustainability. Okay. Among the large states, the Kerala is the best performer, UP is the worst performer. That's all you need to remember. Chandigarh is the best governed union territory after the Puducherry and the followed by Puducherry and the Lakshadweep. Tick. That's all. That's all is important for us. Next is the ACER report. ACER report, very famous report. This report is being created by NGO Pratham annually every year since 2005. Now, some of the things that you need to remember, they do this survey in the rural areas, not in the urban areas. Secondly, schooling status has been recorded for the children 3 to 16 and the children in the age group of the 5 to 16. Then tested for their ability to read simple math and do mathematics. One important thing that you need to remember with respect to ACER is their structure. For example, ACER report itself says that from 2005 to 14, they have done the every year they have done this survey. Okay. Now from 2015 onwards, in the second decade of their existence, they have made it alternative. For example, they do this basic survey 2016 and 18. Basic survey means this basic survey, foundational learning and all this. And they do this spatial survey 2017 and 2019. This spatial survey which they do is a different survey. For example, in 2017, they have done the survey. If you are reading current affairs from long back, ACER Beyond Basics. So that focus on ability, activities, awareness, and aspiration of the youth on the 14 to 18-year-old group. So they focus on the beyond basics. So they talk about youth, 14 to 18 years. Then in 2019, they talked about early years. So preschool years. Take. So this is what they do alternative years. But this year they have done removed everything because they wanted to measure the impact of the COVID-19. So COVID-19 has interrupted the alternate year calendar, make it is impossible to conduct the nationwide basic survey because they wanted to conduct a basic survey. So they have done it over calls. ठीक. So they're trying to examine the impact of the pandemic on the schooling and the learning opportunities. तो इससे फायदा क्या होगा? What will be the benefit to understand this? One of the important thing to understand with respect to this is that we are able to see, for example, next year ACER comes up with a report. So we are able to set up that framework. अच्छा ठीक है, ACER alternative creates a report 2016, 2018, 2020 basics and 2017, 2019 some special reports. So that we don't get tangled up, because this is one report which we need to keep in our mind कि भाई किस report में क्या बोला है, what they have said in which report. ठीक है. So this is an important idea which I wanted to convey with you with respect to ACER report. The findings of the ACER report are important also. Whatever you want to quote in your essays, in your ethics, in your GS. So for example, they talk about the digital exclusion of the children, digital divide that is there. For example, only 80% of the rural students in the rural have textbooks. How many? Only 84% have in the government schools have textbooks, and different idea. Digital divide, only 43% of the students in the government schools are without access to a smartphone. WhatsApp, the most common medium of sending materials and all these things. Okay. So you can use the ACER report and the findings of the ACER report to quote anything we want to quote with respect to education. Next and the last, not very important, that is skins in India. So it's published by Geological Survey of India. So they talk about that we have the 62 species of skinks and about 57 of skinks are endemic. Okay. So with a large body, relatively small or no legs, no pronounced neck, these are the most common reptiles. Again, not very, very important. So that's all for today. That's all for today's discussion. Indexes and report we have done. More importantly, if you have seen, international reports and indexes are relatively more important. With respect to India, data governance important, public affair not too much important. Acer report, we're trying to understand. We're trying to understand the structure of it, because it helps you to frame a structure in your mind. For example, if you want to write anything with respect to youth, you can mention the Acer specific 2017 report. If you want to mention anything with respect to the early years, you can quote Acer 2019, Acer special report 2019. So it gives a very targeted focus to your facts as well, you know. So from that perspective, this becomes important. So that's all for today's session. We'll continue our series. We'll discuss the next session, that is places in news. That will come up very soon. I think tomorrow or day after tomorrow, the session will be published. Till then, see you all. See you all in the next session. With respect to questions, yes, we're trying to just leapfrog October month, and we'll try to include question ASAP. But let us see. Just we are a bit lag in our monthly um, coverage, so we'll finish the monthly coverage first, and then we'll catch up with the questions as well. Till then, keep reading, everyone. Bye bye. Thank you.